Days of Future Past is to me the best of the X-Men films. It works well as an allegory to resistance and rebellion. It's dark and tragic, and it's a nice nod to the comic book fans during the classic run of the X-Men during the 1980s. What's interesting about the movie, and what I wish to focus on in this video, is that the characters with the least screen time are the ones who save the world. There are two types of heroes in the film: the leading characters who carry the pathos and mythos of the film. They work at the political level, at the surface of events. Second are the enablers, who make things possible. These characters live at the periphery of the narrative threads, but who make things happen. They are the workers, the soldiers, who sacrifice themselves behind the scenes so the political narrative can play itself out. Three enablers in particular are indispensable: Blink and Kitty Pryde in one timeline and Quicksilver in another. They are necessary because these enablers are gifted in manipulating two crucial elements: space and time. Blink is the master of space. Quicksilver is the master of time. Kitty masters the art of crossing between the two. By manipulating space and time, they make it possible for the major players to carry out their plan. For philosopher Immanuel Kant, time and space are the prior conditions of all experience. They exist objectively and are transcendental. That is, time and space pre-exist and make possible our knowledge of what appears. The subjective mind then intuits or synthesizes what is given in space and time. This allows us to ascertain appearances, which is a technical philosophical term, which the mind organizes into our phenomena of experience. For Kant, space and time are pure forms of intuition. They exist outside of the self, as conditions of understanding. Time is our inner sense, Kant claims, while space is our outer sense. Through space and time, we are able to sense and understand phenomena. There's a unity to space and time. That is, they are a condition we all share, even as our experiences and understandings are different. Within the unity of space and time, each subject has a point of view on this unity. The reason Blink and Quicksilver are so effective is that they mess with our experience of this unity that allows us to intuit and predict. The characters aren't demigods. They don't change the transcendental conditions. Instead, their power is to fuck with what is our understanding. This is because, as mutants, they have a different relationship to what we normal humans take as the unity of apperception. Their minds aren't outside of normal thought. The manipulation they do all meets the criteria of Kant's transcendental apperception. The difference is that they are able to synthesize sensory stimulus at a different level of awareness. Kant is fairly rigid in his distinctions and categories of experience, but for a philosopher like Henri Bergson, time is more fluid and multiple. Bergson wrote in Matter and Memory, "Perception is master of space in the exact measure in which action is master of time. Our awareness of time comes through our acting in time." Quicksilver, for example, doesn't transcend time or change it, nor does he change the laws of causality. He instead alters speed, his speed, to change his particular experience of events. It's like opening a portal that allows his perception and sensory motor activity to rise to an advanced logic of sense that is higher than everyone else. He's like an alien species, a higher intelligence, seeing and acting beyond the normal perception of others. Bergson's concept of duration helps to express this. The concept of duration describes how time is lived, how memory and the past bleed into the present, which then bleed into the future. Any notion of an instant is only an abstract invention. Instead, there is flow. Any duration has a width to it, something Bergson's contemporary William James called a saddleback of the now. What's different is how Quicksilver can, like a parasite, invade this overlap of past, present, future in what we take to be an instant. He invades the lived time that others take for an instant. Through his manipulation of speed, Quicksilver enters the flow of normal durational logic, undetected, and turns an instant into his own perceptual and bodily synthesis. Speed becomes time through this very act of opening another, wider temporal duration. He conforms the rate of events over to himself, while everyone else carries on experiencing the normal unity of apperception and causality. In Days of Future Past, Quicksilver is a guide, leading his new friends through the durational portals that he opens. But he changes nothing in nature, nor in them, aside from a bit of motion sickness. Then there is Blink, Master of Space. Her ability is to open points of access anywhere in her field of view. This makes her the captain of the battlefield, mapping out the terrain and the attack formations in real time, leading the points of attack and defensive positions. Her team's training is evident in how each member anticipates what each of her portals means, but her actions are intuitive and responsive, which reveals a heightened awareness of spatial dynamics. She not only directs her team, but also misdirects the Sentinels. Now, this is a key thing from the comic books. It's not really covered in all of the X-Men movies we've seen, is the fact that the X-Men really work on these strategies of attack and defense. With Quicksilver, the passage is never seen and never known, but with Blink, there is a visual topology to her actions. Because her acts are seen, the Sentinels can adapt. Her battle was an impossible one from the start, but it was successful in saving time. One wonders what might have happened had Quicksilver been at this final battle if he had worked with Blink, together controlling time and space. But of course they existed in different chronological times and were never part of the same team. Space is always the more vulnerable mode. It's easier to adjust to visual rather than temporal manipulation. Space is visual and immanent. Time is non-visual because what is wide in duration, others only see as an instant, a blink of the eye. Only in reflection, in a visual cognition of the effect, can Quicksilver's time be known. In this sense, he is perhaps the most untouchable, quite literally, of all mutants, and never in danger. His actions amount to a kind of invisibility, not because he is unseen, but because he is untime. Finally, there is Kitty Pryde. As with Quicksilver, she is an escort, but each of the two of them transports others in a different way. Quicksilver manipulates speed within the immanent, objective, natural course of events. Kitty is a psychopomp, like the Greek god Hermes. She can transport a soul between the boundaries of time. She is the one who transcends the metaphysics of objective time, breaking through Kant's transcendental unity. With her phasing ability, Kitty can pass through matter. When touching another person, that person phases through matter along with her. In the movie, she can also phase time as if it were matter. With this power, she is able to ferry a singular mind through time from one's body now to body then of the past. Her time phase overtakes space because the changes in the past eviscerate the space of the just past event. None of these characters engage in physical combat. Quicksilver comically causes policemen to combat themselves, but he, Kitty, and Blink themselves never deliver a blow. They're also never in a position to win. No one is in this movie. That's what I love about it. It's a tragic film of death and loss. The battle scenes at the beginning and ending can only lose because technology is too ubiquitous, too adaptable, and too overwhelming. The only option they have is to rupture time and destroy normal perceptions of its unity. Xavier, Magneto, Raven, and Logan act out the structured mythos of the drama. Quicksilver and Blink mess with the unity of apperception just enough to give time for Kitty to transcend this unity. In Days of Future Past, Wolverine is the star of the film, slaying the bad guys and giving the audience its visible, knowable hero. But Kitty Pryde is humanity's savior, the one who works in darkness, shaping the time of the hero's journey.